Paddy Pimblett and Jordan Leavitt in the UFC lightweight division. Paddy Pimblett, 27.5 years old, a little bit taller and a little bit lengthier, 74% going Pimblett mainly by knockout, a lot of them going decision, then a lot of people going Leavitt by a submission. Personally, I would have to think the fight either goes to a decision or we see a knockout. I really do doubt that Jordan Leavitt is going to go out there and get a submission win, get a TKO win or anything like that. If Leavitt's going to win the fight, it's going to be a 29-28 decision. He's not going to go out there and finish Paddy Pimblett. It is just not going to happen. Now, for Paddy Pimblett, on the other hand, I do think he wins this fight. And I do think there's a good chance he wins by finish. The last time a fight of his went to a decision was Julian Erosa, who was also a UFC fighter. And this is also a UFC fighter in Jordan Leavitt. So either Jordan Leavitt by decision or Pimblett getting that knockout early on, a flash knockout all over the highlight reels and things like that. Or we see Paddy just win a decision here. So it's very tough. It is very tough because there's a slim possibility that Leavitt just goes out there, takes down Pimblett, and just holds him there, ground and pounds, tip-taps him a little bit for 3 straight rounds and wins the decision. That's a possibility for sure. That is Jordan Leavitt's style. He can for sure go out there and do that. But I doubt it. Paddy Pimblett's grappling, his wrestling is very good as well. His takedown defense is not the best, but he does get up very fast, and he's going to be a significantly bigger fighter than Jordan Leavitt. I mean, you've seen the pictures of him, man. He's a very big guy, and I do think he has a striking advantage as well. I see the fight with Jordan Leavitt and Paddy Pimblett staying on the feet for the most part. Leavitt just looking to land leg kicks at range, the leg kick to the thigh, the body kick, the front kick, the teep, and things like that. Leavitt's just going to be playing the kicking game at range. Paddy's going to be pressuring, also landing some kicks, but landing the much more hard shots on the feet. Showed some really good power against Luigi Vendramini in his UFC debut, but it's not going to be enough to knock out Jordan Leavitt. He's not shown any signs to getting hurt on the feet or anything like that, and Paddy really is not the most powerful guy inside of the UFC, so I'm gonna go Paddy Pimblett by a decision right here. I think the grappling is gonna be very even. It's gonna kind of cancel each other out, and we're gonna see some striking. Leavitt's gonna land a little bit more volume, mainly based off the kicks, but Pimblett's gonna land the harder shots, the bigger shots, and more shots with his hands, leaving the judges in London. Again, the fight is in London, leaving the judges with no doubt to give Paddy Pimblett the 29-28 decision right there. Good fights on UFC London, Blaydes versus Aspinall. But I'm going to go Paddy Pimblett winning that fight by a unanimous decision. Paul Craig and Volkan Oezdemir in the light heavyweight division for UFC London, England, with Curtis Blaydes, Tom Aspinall, Darren Till, Jack Hermansson, fellow light heavyweights Nikita Krylov, and Alexander Gustafsson, Muhammad Mokaev, Charles Johnson, and a few women's fights on the prelims. But this is going to be a good fight. You wouldn't really think of it like Paul Craig. You would think of him as the younger fighter because he's just now bringing himself up to the UFC light heavyweight division rankings, building his name in the light heavyweight division. You would think Paul Craig would be like 30 years old, 31 years old, but surprisingly, he is actually going to be the older fighter than Volkan Oezdemir. Volkan is only 32, almost 33 years old. Paul Craig, 34.5 years old. He's taller and he is lengthier. Obviously, he's also going to have the jiu-jitsu advantage. Tapology predictions going Craig mainly to win the fight by a submission. Oezdemir mainly to win the fight by a knockout. And that's kind of what I'm thinking as well. If Paul Craig's going to win, it's going to be on the ground. It's going to be like the rear naked triangle. The TKO win he got on Paul Craig. The arm injury that he got on Jamal Hill. And that submission he got on Nikita Krylov. It's going to have to be on the ground. The triangles and arm bars and guillotines and rear nakeds. Everything to do with the ground game for this man is absolutely amazing. And the only way he's going to lose this fight is if guys like Tyson Pager, Khalil Roundtree, Alonzo Menifield do what they did in their fight and just defend the takedowns, keep the fight on the feet, throw bombs, and catch the chin of Paul Craig and knock him out in the first or second rounds. It's hard to pick. It's very hard to pick because it only takes one little slip up from Volkan Oezdemir and Paul Craig wins the fight. one small little slip up and Volkan loses this fight. But Volkan isn't one of those guys that gets submitted very, very often. He got submitted early on, 7, 8, maybe even 9 years ago against Kelly Anundsen right there by a neck crank submission, and then he got submitted by a rear naked against Anthony Smith in their fight. But other than that, he does a very good job of defending the takedowns, keeping the fight on the feet, and outstriking his opponents to either a very close decision like he did against Alexander Rakic, or knocking them out. Misha Sirgunov, Jimmy Manawa in 22 seconds, and then a 4-minute 31-second win in the second round on Ilir Latifi. I know a lot of you guys are getting on the hype train of Paul Craig. You guys think he's going to get the fight to the ground some way or another and submit Volkan Oezdemir. But again, the way he was able to get the fight to the ground against Jamal Hill, he kind of just pulled guard, and then Jamal Hill was stuck there. Volkan's not going to fall for that trap. If Paul Craig pulls guard, Volkan's going to start running away, and he's going to get out of everything to do with the guard game of Paul Craig against Nikita Krylov. Nikita literally wanted the fight to go to the ground. He literally attempted a takedown on Paul Craig, which I thought was absolutely stupid for Nikita Krylov to do. Volkan is a much smarter opponent, losing to the top 5 guys in the light heavyweight division recently. Dominic Reyes, Yuri Prohashka, Ankalaev beating Alexander Rakic. He's a very legit guy in this division. And he's a smart guy. He's got a lot of experience fighting the best of the best. He knows not to fall for the traps of Paul Craig. He's going to keep the fight on the feet. And I was originally thinking a knockout win for Volkan Oezdemir, but Volkan hasn't really been that finisher for a long time. It's been 3 years since the last time he really got that finish. I think there's a good chance he gets a knockout. I might change my prediction in the next few weeks or so, but I got Oezdemir by decision here. I think Paul Craig is going to do everything he can to kind of do the Charles Oliveira method, where if he does get hurt, if he does get rocked and things like that, he kind of just lay on the ground after he gets rocked and just hold the guard. I mean, that's what Oliveira has been doing against guys like Gaethje, against Dustin Poirier, against pretty much everyone he's been fighting. When he does get rocked, he just plays guard. He literally just plays guard, and his opponents are just like waiting for the fight to get back up to the feet, and that is where Paul Craig will have times to clear the cobwebs and get back into it. So that is the reason I do have the fight going to a decision, is because Paul, being the jiu-jitsu ace that he is, if he ever gets hurt, pull guard, and Oezdemir is just going to wait a little bit. You're going to clear the cobwebs, and the fight will go all the way. So I'm going to go Volkan Oezdemir by a decision right there. Really good fight in the light heavyweight division. Nikita Krylov and Alexander Gustafsson in the light heavyweight division. First and foremost, Gustafsson is moving from the heavyweight division to the light heavyweight division after losing to great fighters, title challengers, title holders. And that's pretty much it. John Jones, one of the greatest fighters of all time. Anthony Smith, title contender right there, lost to him by submission. Then Fabricio Werdum also lost to him by a submission. Now he's fighting another wrestler and grappler type of guy, but this time in the light heavyweight division, as his last fight was in the UFC heavyweight division. But it's a good fight. It is a good fight. Predictions on this one are also going to be 50-50, as they should be, because it is a very close fight. Krylov right now is mainly a grappler, wrestler type of guy, trying to take the fight down and counterpunch a little bit. He likes to stay on the back foot, have you come forward on him, just kind of defend the shots that you're coming in, land the leg kicks and the body kicks, and then counter with the jab and right hook. That's pretty much it for Nikita Krylov, is a counterpunching game on the feet, and as you're coming in, look for that single leg takedown, take it down, and look to grind. He did that with Johnny Walker, just grinded to a decision. He submitted Ovi St. Preux, got a few knockout wins here and there, and then a lot of other rear nakeds as well. But if you look at the fights he's losing to, they're all legit guys. Ankalaev, Paul Craig, Glover Teixeira, and then Jan Blachowicz. And the Glover Teixeira was a split decision loss. Very close. But if we're talking who's going to win the fight, it is very close. Nikita Krylov, if he's going to win the fight, it's literally going to be, like I said, stand on the outside, playing that counterpuncher role, and as Gustafsson comes in for his in-and-out combination with the jab right down the middle, just looking to pop in and out. If Gustafsson gets a little bit too close, does a little bit too much on his jab, and gets a little bit too close to Nikita Krylov. Nikita's going to shoot a single leg, and he's going to try to get the hooks in immediately and look to get the back of Alexander Gustafsson and just ride the fight out or get a submission. He's got a good rear naked that he's gotten plenty of times inside of the UFC. But it's interesting because obviously I can see one of two things happening. Gustafsson goes out there, defends the takedown, looks really good on it, and keeps the fight on the feet for 3 rounds, keeps it at range, jabbing 1-2 and going in and out, in and out, in and out on Nikita Krylov, and just landing a lot more volume and winning a unanimous decision. Or he gets taken down and Nikita Krylov submits him. It's a tough one. That's why Tapology has it as a literal 50-50 fight, and that's literally exactly what it should be. It should be a 50-50 fight because it is such a close one. We don't know if Gustafsson is going to be able to defend the takedown because he was not able to in the Anthony Smith fight. He was not able to in the Fabricio Werdum fight, and Nikita Krylov is a good grappler and wrestler himself. So it's very, very tough. I know a lot of people are going to go Alexander Gustafsson because they're trying to remember his wins over Glover Teixeira, Jan Blachowicz that he got 5 years ago and almost 6 years ago. He's legit. I just think his time is up. Nikita's in his prime. He's going to play that counterpuncher game, land the takedowns. And yeah, I'm going to go Nikita Krylov to win the fight. This time by a decision. I don't think Gustafsson gets submitted 3 times in a row. But I do think he loses the fight here by decision and retires from the sport. Maybe he'll have like one more fight against like Mauricio Hua or something like that, just as a retirement fight. But I don't think he wins this fight, man. He could just keep the fight at range for 3 rounds and just tip tap with Nikita Krylov on the feet. But if Nikita Krylov is able to go out there and take down Magomed Ankalaev and hold them there for like 30-40 seconds, I think he could definitely do that to Alexander Gustafsson. So it's a close fight, one of the closest fights on UFC Fight Night, Blaydes versus Aspinall, but I'm going to lean Nikita Krylov ever so slightly to win the fight by a decision right there. Jack Hermansson and Darren Till in the UFC middleweight division, 29.5 years old and 34 years old, a little bit taller and a little bit lengthier than Darren Till, on a very up and down streak in the UFC middleweight division, losing a knockout to Jerry Cannonier in what I believe was his first ever main event. He was the favorite in the fight, but he got knocked out bad. Then he actually went out there and submitted Kelvin Gastelum, got a very good win there. Then he fought Marvin Vettori, a very, very solid fighter in hindsight, but Vettori went out there and kind of won every single one of those rounds and won the fight by a unanimous decision. Then Hermansson got a big step down, fought Edmund Shabazian, who he needs a lot more improvement. He beat him by decision, and then he lost to Sean Strickland by a split decision. Again, why was it a split decision? I don't know. But now he's fighting Darren Till, and the reason I think this is a lot closer of a fight than it would have been maybe a year ago, maybe even like 6 months ago, I would have been all over Hermansson right here. I would have said, yeah, Hermansson, 3 rounds, I could go submission, but I'm probably going to go to a decision. That's probably what I would say for Jack Hermansson if it was a year ago, if it was 2 years ago, whatever the case may be. I would for sure be going Jack Hermansson to win. But it's not that long ago. It's now. It's 2022, May 24th, and the man is training with Khamzat Chimaev. He's coming off losses where one of them was very, very close with Robert Whittaker, kind of hurt his knee early on in that fight. The other one fought the best wrestler in the middleweight division. Derek Brunson right there got dominated in the fight. That was about a year ago. Ever since then, he's been training with Khamzat Chimaev, one of the best wrestlers in the welterweight division, and he has been just drilling, wrestling, takedown, defense, and all that type of stuff. And the fact that Khamzat Chimaev is familiar with the wrestling and grappling of Jack Hermansson, because guess what? Khamzat Chimaev and Jack Hermansson actually wrestled back in, November of 2021. He has experience. He knows the wrestling. He knows what he's going to go for in his takedowns. And I'm not saying just Ciron wrestling is the same as MMA wrestling. That is completely a different thing. But the fact that he's training with Khamzat, the fact that Khamzat has wrestled Jack Hermansson before, that is a good enough impact to Darren Till's game, especially the fact that he's training with Khamzat Chimaev, that I do believe he's not going to go out there and try to take down Jack Hermansson. He's going to sheerly be using that wrestling as a defensive mechanism, but I think it'd be good enough. I think there'll be times Jack Hermansson will land the takedown, but with Hamzat in his corner, coaching him to get back up, get the fight back at range where he has the striking advantage, I do think Darren Till has enough skills on the feet to easily outstrike Jack Hermansson. He's a much better striker than Jack Hermansson, in my opinion. Throws a lot more power in his hand, that has a lot more volume on the feet. Just overall, the more elusive, faster, more powerful, more volumeless striker than Jack Hermansson. So it really comes down to, can he defend the takedown? And the fact that he's training with Hamzat Chimaev, that should be a good enough reason, but you never know, because you don't know how well that training is and how well it's going to affect him till he actually goes out there and fight. We're not going to know until the fight actually happens, and that is why the fight is so close. That is why Jack Hermansson is only at -120, Darren Till's at +100. That is why it is such a close 50-50 fight. It really comes down to how much has Darren Till's takedown defense improved. I think it has a lot. I think he'll defend the takedowns, outstrike Jack Hermansson for at least 2 out of the 3 rounds, and win the fight by a unanimous decision. But yeah, put your predictions down below. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Let's go. Here it is, Blaydes and Tom Aspinall in the heavyweight division. 2 prime MMA fighters here. Now, Tom Aspinall is an England-born fighter. This card is in London, England, in the United Kingdom. They're obviously hoping Tom Aspinall wins this fight, but it's not a guaranteed thing at all, because Curtis Blaydes has some of the best wrestling inside of the UFC, and not just the wrestling, but his striking. Outstruck Chris Dawkins in the last fight. That is very, very impressive. Out-wrestled Jairzinho Rozenstruik in that fight. Out-wrestled Alexander Volkov in that fight. Outstruck Junior Dos Santos in that fight. Then he got clipped by Derek Lewis right there. Aspinall is kind of the same. He goes out there, destroys Jake Collier on the feet, destroys Alan Baudot, takes him down, takes down Andrei Arlovski, submits him, lands the knees in the clinch, then knocks out Sergey Spivak, and then takes down Volkov and submits him. They both are so well-rounded of MMA fighters in the heavyweight division. I mean, you look at the rankings as of right now, these guys are some of the most well-rounded guys. Alexander Romanov doesn't have the striking to match up with these guys. Aspinall and Curtis Blaydes have very, very good striking. They have the power to knock out very legit guys, as we saw Blaydes do against Chris Dawkins. They have the power and the strength to take people down, use their wrestling and use their grappling to win the fight on the ground, whether it's by submission or by a dominant decision. So honestly, 2 of the most well-rounded guys in the heavyweight division. And Gane was getting there because his wrestling looked very legit against Cyril Gane. But this is such an interesting matchup because Tom Aspinall is the much faster opponent in terms of the striking. Power-wise, it is very even. I mean, I don't really know what to think off of the last fight from Curtis Blaydes. I don't know who's going to have the power advantage, so we're going to say that's going to be very 50-50. But again, speed advantage goes Tom Aspinall. Volume advantage goes Tom Aspinall. Jiu-Jitsu, I'm going to go Tom Aspinall. And then the wrestling goes towards Curtis Blaydes. Very, very tough because we've seen Curtis Blaydes get knocked out in all 3 losses. And we know Tom Aspinall has the power to knock out Curtis Blaydes. He has the submission game to go out there and submit Curtis Blaydes possibly in this fight. But if he's not able to land that knockout blow, he's not able to land that submission early on in the fight, we're going to see Curtis Blaydes grind out in the wrestling and win a decision. He's not going to go out there and finish Tom Aspinall. He didn't do that against Rozenstruik or Alexander Volkov. He did it against Chris Dawkins and Junior Dos Santos, but Aspinall is far better than those opponents. So I do see the fight going either way if Blaydes is the victor. But if Tom Aspinall is the victor, I do see a knockout. 75% going Aspinall by knockout right there. 25% going Blaydes. 50% going knockout. And then 50% going decision. The betting odds as of right now for the fight are slightly favoring Curtis Blaydes. The last time I checked, he's at -130 with Tom Aspinall at +108. Started very 50-50. -108, -108. It was a 50-50 fight on the betting odds. People started putting money on a Curtis Blaydes. So it is very interesting. He's the underdog on Tapology, but he's the favorite on the betting odds. And it's so tough to think because What if Aspinall lands some really big shots early on in the fight and then gasses himself out? Curtis Blaydes out-wrestles and dominates the rest of the fight. There's so many things that can happen in this type of fight in the heavyweight division, but I know Aspinall's wrestling and grappling has improved so much, but I also know Curtis Blaydes' striking has improved so much. It's such a tough prediction. I said it before that I was gonna go Tom Aspinall knockout, and I said most likely if he's gonna win, it's gonna be a knockout. I have a feeling this one's going to go to a decision. We haven't seen a Tom Aspinall decision in a while. I mean, I don't think he has one UFC fight go to a decision. Usually, for younger fighters, just getting that new fight in the top 5. We saw Magomed Ankalaev fight Thiago Santos. A lot of people thought he was going to get the knockout. Turns out, he actually told everyone after the fight was over, he wanted the fight to go to a decision. He wanted to build up the experience to see if he was able to go 5 rounds, to see if he's able to handle the long duration of a championship-level UFC title fight. And that's what I kind of see happening here. I know Tom Aspinall could go out there and finish Curtis Blaydes early on in this fight, but I have a feeling he wants to go out there and prove he can go 5 rounds. So I know a lot of you guys are looking at the Tapology predictions. You're like, oh my god, so many people going Aspinall knockout. That's what I had originally, but I'm going to go Aspinall decision there. Call me crazy if you want. I got Aspinall by decision. Put your predictions down below. Do you think Blaydes out-wrestles to a decision? Do you think Blaydes knocks Tom Aspinall out? Do you think Aspinall can pull a finish early on in the fight? Or do you think Aspinall can make this a 5-round striking fight and just slightly out-edge Curtis Blaydes on the feet and win a decision? Because that's what I think happens. But put your thoughts down below. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Let's go.